Hello and welcome to the Dream Team Professor podcast. In this episode, we're going to look at all the top point scorers and key talking points from the GW5 Premier League fixtures. We still have some Champions League, Europa League and Europa League conference games still to come this game week, but we'll cover them in another episode. I'll then be doing a quick team update, show you how my best team's getting on, and share with you my rough transfer plans that includes the Park the Bus chip for game week 9 potentially. So we'll come on to that at the end. But we'll get started with the early kickoff, which was Wolves versus Liverpool. So on screen we have the new match centre from ffstuff.co.uk. It's a free website and the match centre gives a really handy breakdown of all the points, but also the way the points were scored. The Dream Team match centre isn't quite as detailed as this, and you can really easily see who got not just the points but the bonus points, the shots on target, the tackles, the big chances created. It gives a much easier breakdown to look at. So we'll start off Liverpool 3, Wolves 1. Cody Gakpo got the Liverpool goal, Robertson, an own goal from Bueno, and then the Wolves goal came from Hwan Hee-chan. Salah got 2 assists in this game, one of the most highly owned players in this matchup. 2 assists, but he was unlucky not to have 3, to be honest. So he set up Elliott, who took the shot that went in, but it took a deflection and went down as an own goal for that Bueno own goal. So unlucky not to get 3 assists in this game. Finished on 9 points though, which is a pretty good return, and he was a player that I brought into my team ahead of this game. Liverpool started with Salah, Gakpo and Jota as their front 3. But watching this game, I didn't really think that front 3 worked very well. And then once Diaz and Nunez came on, that's when Salah started to look a lot more dangerous and Liverpool really turned it on. So I think that Nunez, Salah and Diaz is definitely going to be their strongest front 3 lineup. A note that I took down was Quansah started the game at centre-back and he was a 1.4 Liverpool defender. So a cheap one. I know quite a few people in the Dream Team Tonic Discord chat took a punt on him early on. Disappointing because Wolves did score in the 7th minute, but I think he actually had quite a good game, to be honest with you. He went off in the 83rd minute, I think, with cramp, but he scored 4 points in this game, picked up 1 bonus and made 3 tackles. Obviously, Trent Alexander-Arnold is injured at the minute, so Gomez filled in at right back. I didn't think he was that impressive, to be honest. Liverpool did have Konate on the bench, so I don't know if this Quansah is really going to be a good long-term option, though. Szoboszlai, 3.7 million. I took a note down that he was pretty impressive again, but only managed to get the 4 points. His 4 points came from 1 shot on target and obviously the appearance points as well. Pedro Neto for Wolves. He had a really good first half. He got the assist for the goal and he was causing all sorts of problems down that wing. He had a really great game. He's the 6th highest scoring midfielder in the Dream Team game as well at the minute. Picked up 3 bonus points in this one, but he's on 13 bonus points for the season as well. Not someone I'm going to be bringing in, but it is fascinating to see some of these players that are scoring bonus points on the regular, like Eze, for example, and Maddison. But Neto is looking like he is one of these that does really well on this bonus point scoring system. And I think it is because of the dribbles. He was completing so many dribbles, taking on Gomez on that left-hand side. So he did really well in this game. Cody Gakpo, I'd say don't be fooled. He did get the goal in this one and finished up on 7 points, but I did think that he had a pretty poor game overall. 7 points, 1 shot on target, and just the 1 tackle, but obviously didn't get a point for that. You need 2. So just if you didn't watch the game and you just saw the results and saw that Gakpo scored a goal, I wouldn't really let it influence your transfers. I didn't think he had a great game, and that's probably why he came off in this 56th minute. Another note, Robertson at 4.2 million. I think he had a really good game. So 10 points for him, 1 bonus point, a shot on target, and he got the points for 2 tackles as well. And I think in this game, with Gomez playing right back with Trent Alexander-Arnold out of the team, I think it gave Robertson a bit more license to get forward. And he did look pretty impressive and will only cost you 4.2 million. So yeah, that's all my notes for this Liverpool game. 3-1 to Liverpool in the end. On to West Ham 1, Man City 3. And James Ward-Prowse grabbed the first goal for West Ham. Doku got a goal for Manchester City, Bernardo Silva picked up a goal, and Erling Haaland finally got a goal at the end of the game after having a ton of chances. It didn't look like it was going to be the game for him, but he did come away with one in the end. So first things first, James Ward-Prowse, his goal now takes him to 2 goals and 3 assists for the season. So he's got 5 attacking returns in just 4 games. and a return in every single game that he's played so far this season. So he's been really, really impressive. It was a so-foul cross, really good cross actually for the James Ward-Prowse header. And West Ham did look pretty good in this game, but Man City did really start to turn it on, especially in the second half. Doku grabbed the goal. He looked really, really impressive again. 12 points for him, 1 bonus point, 2 shots on target and 2 tackles, 1 big chance created. So a little bit of everything for Doku on the points. And I think Grealish isn't going to be back for this Champions League game, they've confirmed. So there's every chance that maybe Doku starts again. He played the full 90 or went off in the 90th minute. But he seems to have bedded in straight away. So Doku's only 3.4 million at the minute and has started back-to-back games. Pep was full of praise of him at the end as well, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the next game. Julian Alvarez, I'm going to come on to him. He picked up 2 assists in this game and looked really, really impressive again. I don't have him in my team, but he's someone that I really do have FOMO with at the minute. So 2 assists, and he's taking all set pieces as well. He had a long-range free kick where he hit the woodwork, and he's on 2 goals, 5 assists for the season. Pep come out after the game as well and said he's almost undroppable. It would have been better if he did say undroppable, but knowing Pep, almost undroppable, there could still be a chance of rotation for him. But really, really impressive. And again, that link up with Haaland's been really good. So 8 points for Alvarez. On to Haaland, just the 13 points for him. Doesn't seem like a massive return. But he had 6 shots on target in this game, just the 1 goal. And I went on SofaScore, that's the site I normally use to look at stats. And he had 5 big chances missed in this game. So I think if you did go against captaining Haaland, you really did get a bit of a let off in this game, because he could have easily had a hat-trick again, in my opinion. Phil Foden, who I have in my team, was very, very quiet in this game. He went off in the 67th minute, quite disappointing. Just the 3 points for him in this one. Bernardo Silva, on the other hand, he started the game. He got a goal and an assist, 11 points. He looked really, really good. Someone that I'd sort of forgotten about a little bit, but he did look really good in this game. And then I took a note down as well. Kyle Walker, he's impressed me again. He's looked really, really good so far this season. 3.5 million. And I just seem to think he's playing a lot further forward than what I remember. Maybe it was because it was more towards the end of the season last season, and they were playing these big, important sort of cup finals or cup runs. But with them starting Gvardiol, Diaz and Akanji at the back in that defence, they're all centre-backs. It just seems like it keeps it a lot more solid, and Walker's got more freedom to get forward, and he had a really good chance where he could have set up Haaland. He did get the big chance created points for it, but obviously Haaland didn't score the goal that time round. But he finished on 5 points, got 1 bonus and 3 tackles in this game, as well as the big chance created. So I think that Walker at 3.5 million, he's the cheapest defensive option for Man City, and at the minute I think he looks like the best one. Not a ton to report on the West Ham side of things. I mentioned James Ward-Prowse again, looked brilliant. And also putting a really good corner for Zuma, who was unlucky not to score the header. It was a really, really good save from Ederson. So Zuma, that combination of Ward-Prowse and Zuma, or if you did want to take a bit of a chance on these West Ham defenders for the Europa League, I think Zuma could potentially be a good option just because of that attacking threat. With Ward-Prowse putting in these corners, I think they're going to score a lot of goals from set pieces. And then I was going to mention Areola again in goal. 10 saves in this game. Very, very busy, and this sort of coincided with Haaland not putting away his chances. But again, some really, really good saves. And in a game where they've conceded 3 goals, he's come up with 5 points. So that is a big difference compared to how the game used to be last season. These save points really do add up. On to Newcastle 1, Brentford 0. Callum Wilson was the only goal scorer in this game, scoring from the penalty spot. We'd highlighted gameweek 5 as one of these matches where we could start to target Newcastle players because their fixtures started to turn. And if you did go for Newcastle defenders, it pretty much went to plan because they did keep a clean sheet. You had Pope, Botman, Trippier all scoring 8 points, Fabian Schär on 8 points, and then even Big Dan Burn scored 9 points in this game. Schär, Burn and Trippier all picked up 1 bonus point each, and Pope got 2 saves in this game as well. Midfielders and attackers. I was surprised to see that you had Anthony Gordon and Harvey Barnes both starting. It seemed like earlier in the season it was Barnes and Gordon fighting it out for that left-hand side spot. But you had Barnes on the left, Gordon on the right, and Anthony Gordon has got the assist points for winning the penalty, which was scored by Wilson. Wilson also scored a goal that was disallowed, and Newcastle had a penalty decision that was overturned. So on another day, maybe Wilson could have ended up with a hat-trick. I don't know. Alexander Isak, I'm not sure if there was any sort of injury. I doubt it. I think he was probably just rested either due to the international break or because they do have this big Champions League game in midweek. But Isak was on the bench but didn't come on. I mentioned Barnes, 3.3 million, and Gordon, 2.8, playing together. This looked like quite a good combination to look at. You had Almiron on the bench, who did come on, but we might see a bit more of Barnes and Gordon playing together, and that game makes it a bit more appealing. If you were looking at Gordon at 2.8 million, the fact that he now can play on either side makes him a bit more appealing to me. Obviously, we do have that game in midweek. I think it's against AC Milan to give us a bit more information on this Newcastle defence. But first impressions, this is game week 5. It's the first real test, or the first real one that we expected they could keep a clean sheet in, and they did pretty well. So I must say that Kieran Trippier is on my radar at the minute. Fabian Schär at 3.8 million. If you didn't want to spend the 5.2 on Trippier, I think I would look at Fabian Schär out of the rest of them, just because he does have a bit more attacking threat, in my opinion. If you look at Brentford, not many points for them on the board. Mbuemo, who's probably the most popular pick for them, got 2 points. Visser, who's been stuck in my team for the last few weeks, and the minute I brought him into my team, he just started hitting 2 every single time. Matthias Jensen got 6 points in this game, 4 tackles and 1 bonus point. And the only other person I'm going to mention from Brentford was Hickey, 1.7 million. He got 4 points in this game, but actually in the under 2 million bracket, he's the third highest scoring defender with 21 points. So if you did start with Hickey as your sort of cheap defender, I think you've done really well there. And it's probably not too late to bring them in. Their fixtures aren't terrible. On to Spurs 2 and Sheffield United 1. Richarlison got a 98th minute goal. Kulusevski got a 100th minute goal to rescue the game after Sheffield United went ahead in the 73rd minute with a Hamer goal. I hope you didn't chase the Son points after his hat-trick, because he didn't really deliver in this game. He just got the 3 points. Seemed like a lot of people reacted to Spurs' good start, because Dream Team put a tweet out saying that James Maddison, Son and Christian Romero were the 3 most transferred in players ahead of game week 5. You had Romero got the 3 points, Son got the 3 points, but actually Maddison did do really well again, 7 points. He did pick up a yellow card, but he ended up with 3 bonus points again, and he just keeps doing really well on this bonus point system. So if you did have him initially, and then you're starting to wonder, what do I do with him now that the European games are starting? It is a tough decision. I think I probably would stick with him or take him out for these 2 tough fixtures coming up. You've got Arsenal and Liverpool, and then I think they face Luton in the game after that. So maybe it's a case of get him out for these 2 tough games and then get him back in for Luton. Maddison though, 3 bonus points, 7 points in total, and he's actually only 8 points behind Erling Haaland for the season. So that is how good of a season Maddison's having at the minute. Kulusevski, 3 million. He got 12 points in this game, grabbed the goal. And then Richarlison off the bench grabbed a goal and an assist right at the end. So, yeah, Richarlison might get his place back in the team. And if he does, it might end up being Son pushed back out on the left-hand side. So that is something to consider if you've got Son in your team. And then the last person I'm going to mention from Spurs is Udogie at 3.1 million. The defenders are actually doing really well at the minute. I think Vicario might be the top goalkeeper in the game. Romero obviously scored that screamer the other day. He got 3 points in this one. Porro got 4 points. But Udogie got 6 points, 3 bonus points, and 3 tackles in this game. And he just seems to be doing really well all round. Attacking returns, bonus. He's the 2nd highest scoring defender in the game. And that's actually behind Romero, his teammate. So Spurs defenders are doing pretty well. But I probably wouldn't react to it too much with that Arsenal game and with that Liverpool game. Sheffield United, Yeah, I'm not going to mention any of their players. I don't really think there's anyone that you're going to bring into your team from this lot. Manchester United 1, Brighton 3. The goal scorers for Brighton were Danny Welbeck scoring against his old club in the 20th minute. He had Pascal Gross scoring in the 53rd. And then João Pedro scoring in the 71st minute. Scoring straight after everyone gets him out of their team. Just typical. And the Man United goal came from the substitute Hannibal. Where to start on this one? So Pascal Gross, 3.9 million, is now above March and Matoma for points. He's only got 2 goals. He's got no assists so far this season, but he is on 9 bonus points for the season. So Pascal Gross seems to be doing really well. There were 6 big changes for Brighton in this one. Estupinian was left out of the team. He wasn't even in the squad, sorry. And the quote for this one was that he travelled 12 hours and he played 180 minutes in the last week. We have to consider it. That's what De Zerbi said. So I think that this was probably just a precaution, and he probably will be back midweek for that European fixture. So I wouldn't worry too much about him. Tariq Lamptey came in. He got 2 assists. So again, obviously that is a really good performance. 2 assists, finished on 5 points. But just take it with a pinch of salt, because you don't want to go transferring him in if Estupinian is going to come back and take his place back. I've been mentioning the De Zerbi rotation madness. Solly March was rotated for this one. Fair enough. Adingra came in. He got an assist. Lamptey came in, got 2 assists. So they've got plenty of strength in depth. But I mentioned it before. Jason Steele now in goal in this game. And he just keeps rotating his keepers even in the Premier League now. So Steele came in. He started 2 games. Then he was dropped for 2 games while Verbruggen came in. And now Jason Steele is back in. So whatever you do, don't be messing around with these Brighton goalkeepers. On the Manchester United lineup side of things, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I think, was on the bench for this game. But now he has been ruled out for 2 months, they reckon. Reported today and yesterday. So that's quite a disappointing one. But Reguilon is playing at left back at the minute. And they had Dalot playing at right back. And they did have okay games. Reguilon, 2 million could be a real cheap enabler if he does go on to play 2 times a week with these Champions League games coming up. So Reguilon could be someone that's in my plans. You had Rasmus Haaland. It looked like he was going to get his first goal, but it was ruled out. Rashford put a cross in for him, but the ball had just about gone out of play. It was really quite tight, so unlucky for him to not get his first Premier League goal. Rashford, I saw quite a few Man United fans weren't happy with his performance. A few people labelling him greedy. He had quite a lot of shots, but actually in terms of Dream Team, that is what you want. He ended up with 6 points in the end. 1 bonus point and 2 shots on target. So you wouldn't be too displeased if you had him in your dream team. But someone that people aren't happy with at the minute is Bruno Fernandes. Just 2 points from this game. Picked up another booking. He just seems to keep getting bookings lately. So 2 points in this one. Just the 3 points in the Arsenal game. It isn't quite what we want for someone who started out at 6.5 million and his price keeps going down. Probably will go down again. I don't expect too much in this Bayern Munich game. But I would just say that with Bruno Fernandes, the fixtures do get a lot better for Man United. So I think I will be keeping him even if he doesn't really do well in this Bayern Munich game. I'm just going to bring the fixtures up here. So they've got Bayern Munich in the next game away from home. Obviously, there's nothing we can do about that if we've got him in already. But do you really want to rage transfer him out ahead of Burnley away from home? Son just scored a hat-trick against Burnley. They didn't look great in that game. Then they've got quite a few home games in a row. So they have Crystal Palace at home. And then it's back-to-back. So Crystal Palace at home again in the Carabao Cup. They then have Galatasaray at home and Brentford at home. So 4 home games there, and they all look winnable to me. I know Man United aren't in great form, but fixtures like this could be enough to bring them back into form. They then have an away game against Sheffield United, a home game against Copenhagen, and then they have a home tie against Manchester City. So a little bit harder in game week 10. But all the way from game week 6 through to game week 10. The fixtures do look really kind. And personally, I think that I'm going to just have some patience and stick with him, because there's already been 2 occasions this season where I've lost patience with someone. It was Salah. I took him out and then he done quite well. And I had Son in my team for, I think, two game weeks. The 3rd game week I take him out, he scores the hat-trick against Burnley. So I think personally I'm going to keep Bruno Fernandes in and just hope that his form picks up across this period, because it can all just change in an instant. So I can understand the frustration, but I will be keeping Bruno Fernandes in my team. Other than that, I don't think there was really that much to report on the Man United side of things. A few other things with Brighton. Obviously, I said João Pedro came on. He got the 9-pointer and scored in the 64th minute. Evan Ferguson, there were injury doubts about him after he scored his hat-trick, but then didn't go on international duty because of injury. He came on in the 85th minute, so maybe there's a chance we see him in midweek. But at the moment, I don't think I'd be messing around with that striker position for Brighton, because there just seems to be too much rotation at the minute for me. On to Fulham 1, Luton 0. I didn't have that many notes on this game. So Leno clean sheet. He's 3 million, got 8 points, and he's the 2nd highest scoring keeper in the game at the minute. Tete as well, 2.7 million. A cheap defender, and he's on 30 points now. 4th highest scoring defender in the game, and he has 10 bonus points in total. So something he's doing seems to be pleasing this new bonus system. But 2.7 million, it isn't far off some of these European playing defenders from the likes of Villa, West Ham, and even Man United now. They've got a few injuries, so not someone I'm going to be considering at the minute. And one thing to note as well, they seem to be doing well with the defenders and the goalkeepers, but they've had some tough games as well. So Arsenal, Tottenham, Man City. So yeah, just impressed with how their defence has done. But I don't think there's anyone that I really particularly want to target from this team at the minute. Vinicius got the goal and Willian got the assist. But other than that, not much more to add. Then on to Aston Villa versus Crystal Palace. And I think this was a game that interested quite a lot of people because of Sun Dream Team. This was one of them typical games that I probably wouldn't care too much about, but I was really interested in how the Dream Team players got on. So 3-1 to Aston Villa. Edouard got the goal for Crystal Palace. Duran, Douglas Luiz and Bailey got the goals for Aston Villa. So I'm going to start off with Eze, because he just keeps getting a ton of bonus points no matter what happens. 6 points overall in this game and 3 bonus points. And he's got 17 bonus points for the whole season so far. And it's the most bonus points of any player in the game. And he's actually the 4th highest scoring player in the game as well. So a really good season so far for Eze. Odsonne Edouard at 2.8 million. He's got 10 points in this game. And he's the 3rd highest scoring player in the game again. So 5 goals for him this season, which is ridiculous. Someone that just sort of appears out of nowhere. It's not someone that you're going to put in your team, but he's doing really, really well. So we have to shout that one out. Diaby from Aston Villa at 3.5 million. He got 5 points in this game and an assist. But he did get a goal narrowly ruled out for offside. So there'll be a lot of people that were really disappointed with that. Ollie Watkins, 4.2 million. I think that he looked a good option going into these European fixtures, but he just keeps getting assists and not goals. So he picked up his 4th assist of the season, but still no goals for Ollie Watkins. Matty Cash, someone that I brought into my team, 2.8 million. He got 4 points in this game despite them conceding. He made 6 tackles in this one, so not bad at all. And a few things that didn't really get reflected in the points. He put a really great cross in for Ollie Watkins, but Ollie Watkins sort of miskicked it. I think that one should have counted as big chance created, personally. But maybe I'm just biased because he was in my team. He had a really good chance where a ball come into him, but he air kicked it. That was really unlucky. And then a header that was a really good cross into him. It looked like it could have been a good chance, but he'd sort of done a defensive header rather than an attacking header. So unlucky. It looked a little bit promising for Matty Cash, but it didn't quite happen. But we'll take the 4 points considering they conceded. Digne in defence, left back, 2.2 million. Worried that Moreno might soon take his place, but he started this one and he got 5 points and an assist, and that was his 3rd assist of the season. and Moreno was on the bench, but he didn't come on. So maybe Moreno gets that midweek game, or maybe they're just going to try and build up his fitness a little bit more. The last person I'm going to mention, Douglas Luiz at 2.6 million, scored a penalty, and that was his second of the season. So we went into the season thinking that maybe Ollie Watkins was the penalty taker, but it's Douglas Luiz, and he is putting them away. He finished on 12 points, he's got 1 bonus, 1 shot on target, and 6 tackles in this game. So really good performance from Douglas Luiz. Then coming on to my team, Arsenal. But before we do, if you're enjoying the video so far, please do leave a like and subscribe if you're not already. And also, don't forget to check out the latest episode of the Dream Team Tonic podcast. We recorded that live yesterday for our Patreon members, and that's still on early access at the moment. A bit later on the week, it will be available on YouTube to everyone, but check that out in the link in the description below. On to Arsenal-Everton then. So 1-0 to Arsenal. A game we really did dominate, but it was maybe a little bit boring. We seem to have really gained control in a lot of these games now, Arsenal. A lot of passing, a lot of possession, high up the pitch. It's a lot more comfortable to watch, but at times it did feel a little bit boring. Martinelli, really disappointed with this one. So he scored what looked like a perfectly fine goal in my opinion. It looked to me like Gabriel had sort of played the pass, and then it rebounded off someone else and went to Eddie Nketiah, who was then offside. At first glance, to me, it didn't look like offside. It didn't look like Gabriel intended to play the ball that way, but they fully explained that is offside by the rules. So it looked, to any normal people, I guess, that looked like it should have really counted, but it is what it is. Martinelli goal was ruled out, and then to make things worse, it looked like he might have injured himself celebrating. Went off in the 24th minute. Was replaced by Trossard, which isn't a bad replacement to have available on your bench, and he came on and scored. So Trossard is just 2.8 million, and I think he could be a really good option to target at that cheaper price point now that Martinelli is injured. I think it was a hamstring injury. I think they said it still needs to be assessed, but he went on to score a really good goal, Trossard. 9 points in this game, and I think he's going to be a really good option. On that left-hand side, it probably just is Trossard, and then maybe Emil Smith-Rowe. I think Smith-Rowe could probably get that Carabao Cup game. He does need minutes, but I think Trossard will probably be nailed now for those Premier League games and the European games. There were a few other big changes to the Arsenal lineup. So David Raya started in goal for Arsenal, 3.5 million. Remains to be seen whether or not he becomes our number one full-time. I think that he probably will. I think he's going to get these Premier League games. I think that Ramsdale might still get that Champions League game in midweek, but I do think Raya is probably going to get the Premier League games now until he messes up. To me, I think it's probably going to be Raya Premier League, Ramsdale for the Cups. But Arteta after the game has sort of hinted that he wants to have 2 top quality goalkeepers. And he's even hinted that he wants to have top quality players all over the pitch, and he won't hesitate to change them. So again, he might go down the weirdo De Zerbi route of changing goalkeepers based on what sort of opponent you're playing. It is really strange to see, but I guess he wants to be a bit of a maverick in the game. So I'm not going to complain with either of them. I think David Raya looked really good, and he got 7 points. Fabio Vieira, another one that was handed a start. He's 2.6 million, and again, he impressed. He would have got the assist for the Martinelli goal had it counted, and that would have been his 4th assist of the season. When you consider that he hasn't been starting these games, that has been quite impressive. And he started in place of Kai Havertz. Bukayo Saka, I've put down 9 points here. It was actually 7 points, sorry. So 7 points for Saka. He got the assist and 3 bonus points. Just the 1 tackle, so no points there. But I thought it was a fairly quiet game again for Saka. It seems like a lot of teams are doubling up and targeting Saka, and it does make it a lot harder for him. But he still does really well on this new point scoring system for on some Dream Team. So 7 points, 3 bonus points, and he's doing really well for points. And in the games where he does get attacking returns, he is going to really deliver on the points. And if you're comparing the 2 price points, Saka versus Bruno Fernandes, at the minute Saka does look the better pick for me. Nketiah started this game, but I thought that he was poor, and Arteta probably thought he was poor again because he was taken off after 66 minutes for Gabriel Jesus, who looked pretty good. And I think Gabriel Jesus probably is going to start the PSV game and North London derby now. And it was pretty much a full house in defence, a lot of clean sheet points. 8 points for Saliba, 9 points for Ben White, who looked really, really good playing at right back. Now this Thomas Partey right back thing is out of the equation. I think Ben White looks like he's back to his best. Zinchenko played 80 minutes, so he's on his way back to full fitness. He got 8 points, 2 tackle points in this game. And then Gabriel just finished on 6 because he picked up a yellow card. But across the defence, everyone looked really good. And then Declan Rice, 5 points. He picked up 3 bonus points in this game. And Declan Rice is actually on the same amount of points as Bruno Fernandes now for the season. So not the most glamorous pick. He did score that goal in the last Premier League game. But it just goes to show how these players that are picking up sort of 6 points per game, they might not really be smashing it. But these players that are getting tackles, they're getting bonus, they're getting a few shots on target, big chances created, it really does add up. So 6 points per game for Declan Rice, and on the same points as Bruno Fernandes at a lot cheaper price point. Then on to the last game, which was Bournemouth 0, Chelsea 0. I put the 0-0 right at the end here. A lot of points for the defence and the goalkeeper. So I've got Robert Sanchez in goal, got 9 points in this game, 4 saves. Neto in the other goal, he got 10 points, 6 saves. And then the points in defence for Chelsea, Disasi got 6, Colwill got 9, Gusto got 8. Gusto's done really, really well actually this season since he's come in. And Thiago Silva got 7. Ben Chilwell was left on the bench. Apparently he had an illness. But there was also a quote going around from De Zerbi, saying, from Poch, saying, we're going to play Mudryk in position. We're going to be playing Mudryk in the position that Chilwell has been playing. We wanted to play with a more offensive player and keeping the same lineup in the back 4. So it might mean that we see a little bit less of Ben Chilwell at the minute. But I have seen quite a lot of people taking him out of their team already. So hopefully you didn't still have him in your team. He came on in the 80th minute and picked up a yellow card, so finished on a 0. You don't get the clean sheet points now on Dream Team unless you play the 60 minutes, which is a shock to the system for some people, I think. I had a few people asking me on the on Twitter DMs why Chilwell didn't get any points in this one. Gallagher, 2.9 million. I just wanted to highlight him. He's not someone that I would pick, but at 2.9 million, he's picked up 33 points. So going under the radar a little bit there. Someone mentioned that in the latest Dream Team Tonic episode that he'd been doing really well. And I checked that one out. He's on 5.5 average points. So he's doing quite well. And these points are coming from tackles and bonus points mostly. And then last thing to mention. So Sterling picked up 4 points, which isn't terrible. But Nicholas Jackson, 2 points again for him. He's blanked in 5 out of his last 6. I'm including 2 points and 3 points as blanks because you get the appearance points anyway. And not only that, he's picked up 4 yellow cards so far this season. So he's 1 yellow card away from getting a suspension as well. So it's time to move Nicholas Jackson on. 1 goal and no assists this season. Right, so on to my team update. Obviously this is as it stands at the minute because we have currently had the Premier League games, but we've still got the Champions League, Europa League and Europa League Conference still to play. So I've got Robert Sanchez in goal, got me 9 points. He doesn't play in Europe. Estupinian obviously didn't play this game, but he could still play against Athens at home. You got Saliba, got me 8 points. Will play against PSV at home. I'm expecting him to start. Matty Cash, 4 points. And I think he probably should start that Legia Warsaw game. Bruno Fernandes, obviously disappointing. We just mentioned him quite a lot, but 2 points for him. And then I'm probably not expecting too much against Bayern unless they get a lucky penalty or something like that. Bukayo Saka, 7 points. And I'd expect him to start PSV. Matoma, 3 points. I'm a little bit worried about Matoma in this Europa Europa League game. Seeing as Solly March got rested in the Premier League, maybe there's a chance that Matoma gets rested in the Europa League game, but I really do hope not. Phil Foden, disappointing, 3 points. Red Star Belgrade in midweek for Man City. Hopefully he gets a start in this one and some attacking returns to make up for it. But yeah, I don't know how confident I'm feeling about Foden at the minute. Mohamed Salah, 9 points. Again, question marks whether or not he will start this Europa League game in midweek. Again, hoping that he will, but you never quite know. They've got a lot of options. Erling Haaland up front, I would expect him to start the Champions League game as well. So 26 points for him. He was my captain. And then Visser obviously lost 1-0 against Newcastle, picked up 2 points. And I think he's got 2 points for the last 3 or 4 games in a row. So really not been a good transfer for Visser into my team. So that leaves me on 73 points for the game week so far, 399 points in total. And the overall leaderboard, I've gone from 14k up to 12.7k. So a little bit of a rise. Hopefully I get a few more rises in this lot of European fixtures. But as in terms of transfer plans, obviously I'm keeping it quite open because we've still got games to play this game week. But I wanted to show you my rough transfer plans because I have a game week 9 park the bus in mind. So stay with me because it's a bit of a complicated one. I've basically picked this game week out ahead of time because I think that if I wanted to get the best possible park the bus, you would need to start planning ahead if there's quite a lot of changes that you wanted to make. So I've picked out this game week 9 as the time that I potentially want to use the park the bus booster. I'm not fully fixed to that date because there is a game week 11 that looks quite good as well. And that's this game week 9 is just after an international break as well. So there could be a few changes or a few injuries picked up. So you kind of do have to stay a little bit flexible. But this is my idea at the minute. So I'm looking to make 3 lots of changes. So across 3 game weeks. Game week 6, I was looking at taking out Visser and Sanchez for Diaby. And I mentioned him on the last pod. Kaminsky, the Luton goalkeeper. Now, obviously, I know that Kaminsky, 1.1 million, isn't really going to get many points for Luton. I'm hoping for the odd clean sheet. They've got some good fixtures coming up, and they have a double game week in game week 7. They do have a double game week in game week 6 for the Carabao Cup as well. But I did look, and they rotated their keeper for that one last time. So the reason I'm doing this is solely because it gives me a bit of budget to get big hitters in the defence, but also keep some of these big hitters in midfield and attack. So at the minute, I had Kaminsky in mind. I was then going to go Mitoma and Estupinian out for Walker and Aaron Wan-Bissaka in game week 7. Now, in game week 7, Brighton have a double game week, which is Aston Villa away and Marseille away. So not the easiest of fixtures there. We might get a bit of rotation as well. I can't see Estupinian keeping clean sheets against Villa and Marseille. And also there's a chance Mitoma could get rotated for one of them. That's the thinking behind that. And then in game week 8, they face Liverpool and Man City. Game week 9, Ajax and Fulham. So I did think that the Brighton fixtures got a little bit tougher. So these were the 2 that I'd be willing to part with temporarily, just while the fixtures aren't great, and to enable me to get some other players in. So Walker and Wan-Bissaka look like the 2 that I would look to bring in there. I mentioned Walker, I've been impressed with him. Cheapest way into Man City. Wan-Bissaka, obviously things have already changed with that, and that's why you have to stay flexible. So Wan-Bissaka could be injured, or he is injured for 2 months now, they reckon, roughly. And that's where I might look to change to Reguilon instead of Wan-Bissaka. And if I do swap to Reguilon, that's going to save me 1 million over Wan-Bissaka. So actually it could mean that I could dodge having Kaminsky and maybe stick with Robert Sanchez, or have a keeper that's a bit more expensive or a bit better. So the Kaminsky one's up in the air now. Maybe it will be Reguilon instead and a slightly better goalkeeper. But this was the rough plan that I had in mind. And then game week 8, I'd look to take Saka out and Saliba out for Trippier and Trent. Now this would move me to 5 at the back, and obviously you want to have 5 defenders for the park the bus chip. It just gives you more chance for these double points for the defenders. So that would give me a defence of Trippier, Trent, Walker, Wan-Bissaka, and Matty Cash. And obviously Wan-Bissaka, I'm not going to go with him now. It could be Reguilon instead. That would give me Trippier playing against Palace at home and Dortmund at home. Trent would have Everton at home, Toulouse at home. Walker would have Brighton at home and Young Boys away. Wan-Bissaka or Reguilon or any Man United defender could have Sheffield United away from home and Copenhagen at home. And Matty Cash would have West Ham at home, AZ Alkmaar away. So with these defenders, I think that they look like they could keep clean sheets, but Trippier, Trent, and Cash in particular look like they could get attacking returns. And obviously Walker and Reguilon, they should be quite good for clean sheets as well. So that's roughly my plans for this park the bus chip. And I've got to mention, obviously I don't really want to lose Saka and Saliba, but in game week 9, Saka and Saliba's games are Chelsea away and Sevilla away. So they look like fairly tough fixtures. But the reason I would take them out in game week 8, it's ahead of the Manchester City game as well. So I'd be taking Arsenal players out for what is probably the toughest game of the season. And in game week 8, the players that I'd be bringing in for them, Trippier and Trent. Trippier would play against West Ham away, and Trent would play Brighton away from home. So not the best fixtures, but then they get really good in game week 9. And also out of game week 9, Trent has Everton to lose, but then it's followed up with Nottingham Forest at home. So I might want to keep Trent one more. And then Newcastle, they have Crystal Palace at home, but Borussia Dortmund at home, and then Wolves away from home. So again, that's a really nice fixture afterwards. And then Matty Cash, West Ham at home, AZ Alkmaar away. That's followed up by Luton at home. So there's a few of these defenders that I might want to keep for 1 week afterwards as well. If I was to have Kaminsky as my enabler in this one, or it ended up being that I keep Sanchez and go for Reguilon instead, it would still leave me enough to have a pretty strong midfield and pretty strong attack. So I'd have 5 at the back. My 3 midfielders would be Bruno Fernandes, who faces Sheffield United and Copenhagen. But maybe if Bruno's dodgy form continues, I could just keep Saka and get rid of Bruno. Diaby, West Ham at home, AZ Alkmaar. Foden, Brighton and Young Boys. And then up front, I'd still have Salah for Everton and Toulouse, and Haaland, I'd have Brighton and Young Boys. So I'm pretty happy with how this looks on paper. But game week 9 is still three game weeks away, or 4 game weeks away. There could still be a lot of things that go wrong in terms of injuries or rotation or anything like that. So I think it's a good idea to just have something roughly in mind and start planning towards it. But I do think you have to be willing to change it at any moment. And also, if you're planning something like this, when I sort of planned this one out, I had like 0.3 in the bank spare, working out what the changes how they'd figure out. Obviously, remember there's price changes as well. So while it looks good on paper, injuries, price changes, rotation, it could all be disrupted. So I think it's good to have a rough idea, but you got to be flexible. That is everything for this episode, so thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please do leave a like, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, or if you're listening on podcast platforms, please do give us a follow on there as well. And don't forget to check out the latest Dream Team Tonic podcast episode. There'll be a link in the description below, and I'll see you on the next episode, which will be the top players to target in Game Week 6. Goodbye.